We live. Sit down, sit down. I see it. I need to get this water. Y'all ran out on me. Hey, as you come in, I'm sorry. Just trying to finish setting up. Hold on 1 minute. I forgot what I was doing. I think that's it. Hey, Jacquees, I got to go get some water. Yeah, hold on 1 minute. Hey, Jamise. It's gonna be a struggle. Hey. I feel like I should have music come on that I can dance to. Somebody need to work on that for me. Have me some music to play so I can dance. It is Thursday and we are live, ready to talk it out about whatever we're going to talk about for Talk to Talk Thursday today. I don't think I'll be before you all long today. Yeah, dancing. I want to dance. I don't know. Every time I hit live, I feel like some music should come on and I should just, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. My slow moments. So here's the deal. I put up a blog. I was going to put up more, but I figured I didn't have time, and then I figured it'd be probably good just to do one. But I put up a blog Monday, and it was talking about new level information. So when you get new levels of information, or get new information and move to a new level, advancing degrees of information and all of that. Before I go into that, I kind of had the thought that we may need to revisit something I talked about Friday. I don't know if many of you caught me on my Beloved page, or my women's ministry page that I'm in, Women of Beloved, but we talked about renewing the mind. So I think I need to hit on that first, just go over some things, because I know everybody may not have tuned in to that one. And it kind of will help me set the flow for the rest of the things that I've been sharing about new level information. And so renewing the mind, pretty much, I guess we have been talking about it a lot, but I think I went into more details about it Friday. And so I want to give y'all a few of those highlight points. And so renewing the mind, it came from the scripture of Romans 12:2. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so I made sure to point out the fact that renewing the mind was not the end result. It was not the end goal. The end result or end goal is actually being transformed. That's the whole mission. That's the goal. We're trying to be transformed. We're trying to become something else. We're trying to take on a new identity. So we do that through the process of renewing our mind. And so I don't think a lot of us know why we have to renew our mind, or why we say renew our mind. And when you're becoming yourself, or when you're becoming a new thing, renewing your mind is, renewing is to renew qualitatively, the quality of your mind, the degree of excellency of your mind, and then it's renovating you from the past. It's renovating you from past things. And so then transformed again means transformation, transfigure, metamorphosis. You're being transformed into a new thing. And the mind is pretty much what I wanted to spend more of the time on, because we don't really understand what our mind is, how it functions, how much it plays a part in who we are, how we become, how we act, how we behave, what the mind is. So that's what I really, really think I need to touch on more, is the mind, what the mind is, and how we perceive, how we receive information and all that. So that's what that is. What we're going to do real quickly. The mind is actually not your brain. We need to point that out. The mind is not your brain. The brain is the organ, but the mind is actually your the seat of your emotions, your affections. It is where your understanding, your intelligence, all of that comes into play. Your understanding, that is what your mind is. And so the reason why we need to renew our mind is because our mind has different components. Our mind has a conscious level, which is like what we operate on a daily basis by. Consciously, we make decisions. Consciously, we see things. Consciously, we interact with people. Consciously, this is a conscious thing. And then subconsciously or unconsciously, like 90% of that is things that where our automatic responses come from, our program things that we've memorized, or where our memory is stored, and things that we operate from childhood forward. And like I realized, or I researched and I saw that when we are kids, that our mind is fully downloading data. So for about 9 years, we're just taking in information. So our information, our world is being kind of structured by the people that we're around, the family, the friends, the environment, the culture that we live in, the society at that point of time, whatever is going on then, media, everything is pretty much being shaped subconsciously. And so this is important to know, because this is why we sometimes act the way we act, do the things we do, behave the way we behave, drift to certain areas, drift to certain people, respond to certain things in certain ways, certain situations, certain ways. So this is what we need to know, is the mind, is what the mind is, how it's shaped, how it functions, and what we can do about it. How do we go about renewing the mind? So you're not really renewing your conscious part of your mind, you're renewing the subconscious part of your mind, because that's where everything is stored. And that is where your emotions come from. That's where your behaviors and what else I was saying? Your behaviors and habits come from, because they've been programmed to do such a thing. So if you've experienced some type of trauma in your childhood, the slightest bit of thing that reminds you of that, when you see it when you're older, your automatic response, your subconscious response is to drift away from it, to fear it, to run from it, to, I don't know, react. Some people subconsciously, when they grew up, saw their parents in abusive relationships. If something triggers that in their mind, they may become abusive in some degree. Or it can be vice versa. They shy away from relationships because they don't want to become that. And so it's a lot. It's a lot. But then spiritually, what we need to realize is that our spiritual minds, we were born into this world. Satan is the God of this world, and he has presented us with so much lust of the flesh. I went over that. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, pride of life really impact us as we grow older, as we were growing, I guess I should say. And we are more prone to give in to our flesh. We try to do whatever makes us happy, whatever pleases us, whatever satisfies us. That's more so our goal. We have to learn to become selfless. I mean, it is good to take care of yourself and do things for yourself, or that'll please you. But if you do it so much in some way, you become a narcissist and all this, and so we have to be programmed to train to be selfless as well. So that's renewing your mind. And the reason we need to, I can't hear. Y'all, my sister and mama in the other room. joking and having fun. I don't. I couldn't hear myself think. Golly, what was I, y'all? I'm sorry. Born into this world, renewing the mind. The reason we had to, Shannon, don't speak to her. She's not even on here. She ain't not entertaining other people. She's not even listening to me tonight. She ain't even getting this word. But renewing the mind, this is why we need to renew our mind, both naturally, spiritually, socially, all that good stuff. Because like we talked about last week, there's layers of dysfunction that has come upon us because of our subconscious mind, because of things we've grown up in, things we kind of suppressed that we didn't even realize we had suppressed. And so we were trying to figure out how do we combat or how do we go about renewing our mind. And so you go by renewing your mind by focusing on something different. You have to focus on something different. Whatever is before you is pretty much what you will take on. It'll be what you become, what you will start doing. I didn't use this example, but I just thought about it was well, the reason we have to be so careful what we focus on. My sister runs track, and one of her friends, her mom was telling us how when she would run and do the little jump, she would jump. It seems like everybody kept falling, everybody kept missing, everybody kept messing up. They weren't making a mark. And so what happened was she told her daughter to turn her back when everybody else was jumping. And so she won't have that last image in her head. And that way she won't be imagining that when she goes to do the same thing. And so, of course, we tell my sister the same thing, because when she does like her little shot put thing, if people before her are fouling, they're scratching, they're throwing it out, they're hitting the end of the thing when they do their turn, they do it wrong. If you're focusing on what they're doing, you're subconsciously taking that image in your head and applying it to yourself, and it's trying to get into you. And you'll get up there and you do the same thing. That's why they have it doing over and over. So you have to be careful what you focus on. You have to be careful what you focus on, because you subconsciously become that, or start believing in that, start having that image ingrained into your mind, and it affects you. So we have to do that. Another thing is, not only do we have to consciously focus on something else, consciously make different choices, you have to know when things come up, when some type of thoughts come up, you have to cast down imagination. That's one of the scriptures that's in the Bible that we talk about a lot, is casting down imagination. So when thoughts of fear, thoughts of hatred, thoughts of whatever wrongful doing or whatever it is, whatever, I'm trying not to be so specific, because I want you to be able to apply it to your life in any area. And that's right, cousin, guard your gateways. And we definitely gonna I'm touch on that too. But you have to cast down those thoughts, cast down those imaginations when they come up. When you start fantasizing about stuff that you shouldn't even be fantasizing about, you have to, in that moment, be so quickly to be active, to cast it down, to think on something else, to combat it with the truth. That's something that you shouldn't be involved in, so you have to combat it with the truth. It's a struggle. Maybe it'll start off as a struggle. It's a long process. We talked about how it's a lifelong process of renewing your mind, a daily process that you have to cast things down. I gave the example Friday of me personally going live. I was fearful to go live. I didn't want to go live. Even now, there's sometimes the thoughts coming to my mind like, ain't nobody gonna join. Ain't nobody gonna want to listen to what you have to say. Well, why should they listen to what you have to say? Or, just different things like that come into your mind. But if I dwell on those things, I'll never get anything accomplished. I'll never be stretched, challenged, move into who I am to become, to the next level. I'm never going to do anything. I'm never going to move forward if I'm operating in fear. And so I have to learn how to cast those thoughts down. Where those thoughts come from, I can go back in history, and whether it's something I planted in my own mind because of something I thought, or because somebody else planted them in my mind, whatever it is, it comes to a point where you just have to learn how to cast it down. You have to learn to combat it and not let it become you. One thing I think I missed was the fact that we have to learn how to not be emotionally driven. The subconscious mind is 90% of your mind, of your mind, and it houses your emotions, your behavior, where your behaviors come from. But if your emotions are too high, if you allow your fear to arise so much, you consciously won't be able to make the proper decision. We'll go back to the trees. I done shared that with y'all how I was fearful of trees, but subconsciously I was fearful of trees, and my emotions would run high. They would run I would get so emotional to the point that I'd shake. I had to call people and couldn't call people. It was bad, y'all. But my emotions just were all over the place, and to the fact that I couldn't consciously make the right decision to, or consciously make a right decision, or consciously, dang, I can't get the word out that I want to get out. I couldn't consciously assess the situation or whatever I'm trying to say. I can't get it out. But anyway, I couldn't do it properly. I couldn't do it in the correct way, because I was allowing my emotions to get the best of me. I was allowing the fear to get the best of me. And so I couldn't just sit here and say, hey, there's nothing for you to fear. I mean, these are some doggone trees. They're not going to come out and jump out at you. They're not going to come throw a limb and hit you, smack you across your face. Just come on now, common sense. Ain't nothing to fear. I couldn't do it just because I was letting my emotions get out of place. And we do it all the time. People do it when they're in love. They can't, or when they have their heart broken, or when they get, it's anything you can think of, whatever you want to apply to. Just, you can't be emotionally led, because your emotions are all over the place. You have to learn how to control your emotions. And that's what we need to learn how to do. And my cousin put on here, guarding your gateways, your eyes and your ears. It is so important, because now last week, y'all, if y'all go back and look at this, I botched this movie because I remember it so good, but I couldn't remember the whole how it went. But it's the movie Focus. I actually went back and watched it after Those the Orange Trees. I went back and watched it after I found out what the name of it was. I was on the right path. But anyway, so it's Focus with Will Smith in it. And he actually has started betting with this man. And they were at a football game. He was on the verge of losing all his money. He wanted to double it, blah, 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 blah. And so he had asked the man to choose a number for one of the football players on the jersey. And, hey, Auntie Toy, I love you. Choose a number from one of the players on the football field on the jersey, and his girlfriend would choose that same number, and they would win the bet, right? And so it ended up happening. He chose his number. She went down there. She looked. Of course, she figured out what was going on, so she chose the same number. And she was like, how did you do that? How did you know he would choose that number? And so it went back and showed how all throughout the day they had put that number up everywhere that man went. So if he was in a hotel, the name plate on somebody's, one of the police officers' jacket. They even got down to the fact that the number of some type of song, some words, how many times he heard it over and over. But the number was plastered all throughout the day, and he subconsciously saw it. He did not know he was seeing it. He wasn't really paying attention and focusing on it. Like it was on a taxi cab and stuff like that. So this is why I say we need to be mindful of what we think about, be mindful of what we look at, be mindful of the environment that we are around, because your eyes and your ears are really taking in more than you can think. Your 10% of your conscious mind is not holding all of that information. It's not holding all of that data. It's not trying to process that. But your subconscious mind is processing that, and it's processing all throughout the day, even when you're asleep. It's processing information. It is taking in things. So when you're asleep, when you're sleeping, you have the TV on, you may start dreaming about whatever is on TV because you hear it, because it's becoming into you. We have to be mindful of what kind of I know, we get into the whole thing about music and what you should and shouldn't listen to as a Christian, this, that, and the other. But the truth of the matter is, as a human being, period, you need to be careful what you listen to, because it has an effect on you. The words that are being spoken, all of that subconsciously gets in your mind, and it starts playing, getting ingrained into who you are. And we're kind of moving into what I started writing about in the blog, but I just wanted to go over what the mind is, what it does, and why it's so important that we renew it. Hey, OD. Why we renew it, and why we be mindful of what goes on. I think we talked about, someone had commented last week, a comment was, think about your thought, think about what you think about. Like, you literally need to think about what you think about, what you meditate on, because that becomes part of who you are. The way that I was saying that our children, when we were growing up, the first 8 years or so of our lives are being programmed by other people, about our circumstances, our situations, our surroundings. That's what I was trying to say. It's being programmed by that. And so by the time we get older, we're already programmed. We have some automatic responses that we weren't fully aware of, but it still doesn't mean that we can't reprogram ourselves. And the way we do that is by consciously making different decisions, focusing on something different. And the only way to get something from your conscious to your subconscious mind is to do it in repetition, to repetitively do it over and over and over again. That's why the word meditate is to say, like, you have to say words over, say scriptures over and over again. Keep them in your hearing. That's why you can do affirmations. Affirmations work in the morning time. So if you have low self-esteem, you're not believing in yourself and certain goals, this is why you can do affirmations. This is why you need to surround yourself by people who can speak life into you. This is why you need to focus on read different books, read different materials. If you're trying to break a bad habit, then you need to replace it with a different thing, so you need to combat it. It's not just trying to quit. Like, if you're a smoker and you're just trying to quit, more than likely you're going to replace it with something, but what are you going to replace it with? This is why fasting is so powerful, because fasting, we turn away from something and we focus on the word of God. And so it becomes you. This is why fasting works, because you're meditating on something day and night. You're meditating on something different. You have something different before you. Okay, so that's it. That's why you need to renew your mind. That is how you should renew your mind. And I done talked a lot. I think the most important thing, the only thing I want to take away from the blog that I just recently wrote is each level of lessons, like we go from, I use the example of us going from addition. For some reason, it's easier for us to learn new things when we're younger than when we're older. It's as if we find a new piece of information, it throws us completely off. Even if it somehow seems to almost contradict what we've learned before, if it's a new method or a new concept that comes in, it kind of throws us off sometimes. And and it's like we can't get our grip. But that's not exactly how it should be. It doesn't mean that what you learned in the past is not useful. But what should potentially happen is every time you move to a new level, a different you should move to a different level, because all of the information, all of the knowledge that you gain should be become ingrained in you. It should become part of the essence of who you are. And I was thinking, I don't want to go too deep into this because this is a couple of more blogs from now, but I wonder, how do people get so caught up in different types of doctrines? Ephesians 4 said, want us to not be carried about with every wind of doctrine. And so I was trying to figure out, how do we, do that? How do we get carried away with every wind of doctrine? And I kind of realize it's because we don't really allow the first level of information to really solidify in us. We don't really allow it to become who we are. We don't become it. We don't become that word. We don't become that information and that foundation that has been laid. We just take in head knowledge and don't let it get to our hearts. And that's the issue that I kind of been seeing is we as Christians have been placed with so much head knowledge that it makes no sense. It's good. It's, you know, it's good that you know these things off the top of your heads. People know the Bible back and forth, but until it becomes heart knowledge, then we'll be tossed to and fro. You know what I'm saying? We'll be it. I don't want to get too deep into it, but when it becomes heart knowledge, it actually becomes part of who you are. And so every level of information should be ingrained in you. It should become part of the essence of who you are. And the reason I said ingrained in you is because it should become second nature. It should come subconsciously. You do these things or become these things because of the information you have. So subconscious, that's how the subconscious part comes in. It's the essence of who you are because it is ingrained in you. And so that's the only thing that I want to kind of leave with is to make sure that whatever level you're on, whatever information you have right now that you're gaining is make sure you are mastering it. Make sure it is becoming of who you are. But we have to, of course, be mindful of the information that we're taking in. But foundationally, we need to make sure we have foundation principles. I think that's why I kind of started with back to the basics when I started doing Talk the Talk Thursday. Please, 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 if you have not, listen to all of these Talk to Talk Thursdays. Go back. I have them on YouTube. The last one is not on YouTube yet, but it'll be up there before the weekend. But go back on YouTube and listen to them. Go to the blog and read if you want to read. So I think this is pretty much the benefit of this. Some people like to read. Some people don't. Some people like to talk. Some people like to hear audio. So I guess this is good. So if you want to read, go to the blog. If you want to hear, go to YouTube and get the backdrops of what we've been talking about. But that's why we need to start from the basics. We need to get foundational things aligned. And sometimes that does mean us, from last week, processing layers of dysfunction, taking dysfunctional things off so that we can get back to the basics of what our true foundation should be. And that's what we're going to be doing. That's what we're going to be working on. That is what has been presented to me, what Talk to Talk Thursday really is about. It's about helping us to renew our mind, but beginning to have almost like a fresh start. So we can become transformed into better images, better people, better individuals, better Christians. That's it. All right, so if anybody have any questions, any comments, any thoughts, any whatever y'all got for me. Y'all got some things make sense, make not sense. And I'm gonna give it a few minutes because I know some of these comments they come up slow. All right. Well, good, Jamise. I'm glad you joined me. Nice to see you. And I'm sorry, y'all, if I look that way, I'm talking to Periscope. I want to find out how I can do Instagram too. We need to work on two things, people. Give me some music that I can dance to when I come on. And give me another device that I can do Instagram too. But anyway, thank you all for joining me. I will return next Thursday. I don't know how I'm going to do next Thursday, so just watch out. I'll put a post up. It may be earlier than normal, just because I do have something planned for Thursday, but that I can't get out of. But I will be sure to do a Talk Thursday either way it goes. So I love you all, and thanks for joining. Have a great day.